Yo, welcome to this third video in the series. How's it going? I'm excited. I'm excited about this session. It's going to be, well, it could potentially be an extremely epic session. I'm going to talk about a couple of things that it's pretty much my favorite thing to talk about, right? Which is why I made an album and wrote a book. This idea of golden moment. And like I said in the email, I really do believe this is probably the most important life skill that exists. I could be wrong. And it's just what I think right now. 5 years from now, I might think, nah, man, that's not what you need to know. You need to know this. But for now, I've just found what I'm about to talk about just extremely helpful on a very practical, personal level. And in the coaching and mentoring that I've done with other people, it seems to just cut through a lot of so-called problems. So, it's going to be a very interesting session where, depending on where you're at in your life and how much you might have engaged with this kind of material, it's either going to sound very like common sense, or it's can potentially be a completely different way of engaging the world. Very different way of engaging, very different outcomes. You end up in a very different spot emotionally, physically, in relationships, all that stuff. So I'm really excited to jump into this. Like I say at the start of all of these sessions, I'm hoping this isn't going to go too long. I'm going to try and keep it short, but it always ends up an hour. So I think I'm just going to give into that and say it's probably going to be an hour. But I might just try to give you all these ideas in a pretty fast and furious manner, and then play you some music, and then hit the road. But if you are here live, feel free to jump into the chat and just say g'day. Otherwise, I probably won't keep an eye on the chat too much. I'm getting a message here that I can't connect to chat anyway, so on YouTube. So if you're wanting to chat, just chat through the web page. There's a chat role there. Jump in there. Anyway, welcome, and thanks for taking the time to be here. I know everyone's busy with life, and if you're here, I really appreciate it, because you could be anywhere. So thanks for checking this out. I appreciate it. Okay, so all right. So I'm actually just going to start with a reading, and I got a few things to share today. So I'm going to read from the book. I'm going to read the full chapter of Golden Moment of the song. I'm going to read you the lyrics. Then I'm going to talk about a few other books. I'm going to talk about this book, Man's Search for Meaning, and then go through a whole bunch of different ideas. And the idea behind this session is to take lots of the stuff we've been talking about in the previous sessions and try to make it a little bit more practical. The other stuff's kind of just theories and concepts. And this will be too. This is still a lot of the what, just like theory. But the only way to sort of take that and bring it into your life is to just, as I'm talking about scenarios in my life or examples, to be thinking about them in your own life and seeing how these ideas interact with your life and how you might be able to use them and integrate them. Excellent. And then that's something I'll be going deeper and sharing more of this stuff in the Golden Moment Book Club. So this will be a little bit of a race through a lot of these ideas. All right. So here we go. I'm going to start reading. Golden Moment. If you haven't picked up one of these, it's a good idea. This is on page 53. I really wanted to get like a pipe and like a smoking jacket and a reclining chair so I could read to you in a very special way, but here we go. This is the drawing for this one, which is very related to the album cover back there, if you can see it. It's me floating. All right, chapter 6, Golden Moment. This moment is golden. It's the only thing we need. Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist from Austria. His now famous book, Man's Search for Meaning, unearthed some of the most incisive wisdom of all, namely the last of the human freedoms: to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. That's basically going to be the topic of this session, is that idea. So here's a short excerpt where Frankl describes the conditions he experienced in a Nazi concentration camp and his choice to find a glimmer of gold within the dense grey of his surroundings. So this is Viktor Frankl. We were at work in a trench. The dawn was grey around us. Grey was the sky above. Grey the snow in the pale light of dawn. Grey the rags in which my fellow prisoners were clad, and grey their faces. I was again conversing silently with my wife, or perhaps I was struggling to find the reason for my sufferings and my slow dying. In a last violent protest against the hopelessness of imminent death, I sensed my spirit piercing through the enveloping gloom. I felt it transcend that hopeless, meaningless world, and from somewhere I heard a victorious yes, in answer to my question of the existence of an ultimate purpose. At that moment, a light was lit in a distant farmhouse which stood on the horizon as if painted there. In the midst of the miserable grey of a dawning morning in Bavaria. Et luc in ténèbres luce. That's my French. And the light shineth in the darkness. For hours I stood, hacking at the icy ground. The guard passed by me, insulting me, and once again I communed with my beloved. More and more I felt that she was present, that she was with me. I had the feeling that I was able to touch her, able to stretch out my hand and grasp hers. The feeling was very strong. She was there. Then, at that very moment, a bird flew down silently and perched just in front of me on the heap of soil which I had dug up from the ditch and looked steadily at me. So even just that passage we could dissect a lot. But I'll keep going. So what constitutes a golden moment? It's different for each of us. The connective foundation could be described as fulfillment or meaning. This could have nested within it emotional states such as elation, peace, certainty, or being in a state of flow. In other words, favorable to us in that moment. At times, a golden moment might be peacefully reading on your own, where at other times we're able to derive deep pleasure from an intense, even painful activity such as working out. Isn't that weird that we can enjoy pain and suffering? My interest in creating golden moments is the alchemical art of turning muck into gold, turning a seemingly awful event into something that has nested within it some treasure that makes one wiser and life richer. This goes against our human nature and inherent negative bias. Humans want to move away from pain and move towards pleasure. We move from the blazing sun and into the shade, from hunger to tasty treat, from loneliness to the company of others. It's an ongoing effort for equilibrium that plays out beneath our conscious awareness. Beyond a thin veil of the obvious and almost objective understanding of a situation lies another universe, rich with meaning and an underlying empowering lesson, if only we are willing to do the emotional labor to look more deeply. Each experience we have is not only good or bad, it's often both. For example, separating from a lover, growing up poor, missing a train, being denied a job. This applies to even the most tragic circumstances humans have experienced throughout history. There are countless examples of people who have experienced heinous crimes against their humanity, who look deep into their own humanity to discover richness, forgiveness, meaning, and gold within their darkest moment. These are the people we ultimately hold up as exemplars of advanced or enlightened people. Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Viktor Frankl, Nelson Mandela. Gold is valuable to us because it is scarce. Gold itself is hidden. It rarely falls out of the sky and lands in our laps. There is some digging involved. In this context, it takes the emotional labor of perspective, trust, forgiveness, responsibility, courage, vulnerability, and gratitude. These higher order acts are tools to uncover that gold. So if a situation is both good and bad, the question becomes, which interpretation do I want to have? Which interpretation can best serve me? Those near to me and the world at large. If that is our intention, it becomes clear that we want to choose interpretations and experiences that, though difficult to access, will build our emotional capacity in order for us to live fulfilled lives and better serve others. Calling ourselves forward to align with our deeper purpose takes courage and self-trust. There is no shortage of slick-sounding rationalizations, distractions, and petty reactive behaviors that keep us from our life's work in any given moment. Each one of those barriers has a post-it note stuck on it which says, "Dig here." Life is happening now. Each moment is important as the last. Our life is the totality of the singular moments we have before us now. When we shift our focus from why is this happening to me to why is this happening for me, the doorway opens to yet another vein of gold to follow. The personal influence we have in each and every given moment is supreme. When we focus on what we can control, we tap into limitless reserves. By no means do I profess to have mastered these methods. Wielding these tools effectively is the domain of emotional labor masters. A samurai spends hours daily training the body and mind to high levels of self-control. It would be rare to find someone who might spend even a moment outside of a New Year's resolution to take stock, reflect, process, and transform their past, present, and future experiences into gold. This does not mean that the emotional labor is not being done at all in the world. It is being done in meditation halls, personal growth seminars, counseling sessions, through art and songwriting. The world is full of suffering. It is also full of the overcoming of suffering. This is exemplified by Viktor Frankl's incredible account of finding meaning and gold in one of the darkest moments in all of human history. I trust that if it can be done there, it can be done anywhere. There is a world beyond your mind's current broadcast of the events appearing before us. Imagine the experiences you might have had that were previously thought of as bad, and ask yourself, how has that experience served me? What have I learned from it? And what have I learned from it that has made me a better person? How can I use this experience to help others? The gold is there. That's not a flippant assertion. It has always been found there. Each moment is golden. Sometimes it's just beneath the surface. In life, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Look around you right now. What do you love about this moment? What can you love about this moment? We can uncover the gold in any moment. When we direct our attention to what's good, what we love, what we're grateful for, the world will begin to shimmer before our very eyes. All right, so that's the chapter there. What did you get out of that? What did you find in there? Did you find any gold in there, or was that all just rocks, rubble? All right, so I hope you can also hear my nose is whistling. There it is. All right, so now I'm going to read the lyrics from the song, just so we can take all that stuff and relate it to the music and the album. Tomorrow is not here now. Yesterday is gone anyhow. You never step into the same river twice. Light blasts through only one frame at a time. This light and this frame is called your beautiful life. What fills your world right now? Now. What do you feel, and what is the accompanying sound? You only exist now and here. Who you were yesterday disappeared. Know who you are, not what you'll be. Just be here as you are with me. Only in this moment can you be yourself perfectly. So now, are you seeing every single frame? Connect each flicker into a continuous flame. Flame. This moment is golden. It's the only thing we need. The past and the future can't save you. This moment can set you free. So make this moment good. Make it the best that you've had. Give it all you are. Give it all that you have. You don't have to wait any longer. You can be free right now. Just give into it. Give into it. Give into it. Give into it. I can show you how. Each moment is an eternity. Each moment is eternally deep. We can set ourselves free. 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 All right. So there's the lyrics to Golden Moment. All right. So now there are many different ways we can kind of go with this topic and this idea. But where I want to start is the idea that each moment is up to interpretation, and that we have a default set of patterns that we've grown up with and a default set of reactions to all different sorts of situations. So we've learned how to react in certain situations. So, like, as an example, my associations with police growing up was to actually be scared of police. My parents, every time they saw police, they would just go into some kind of shock and they'd say, "Oh, it's the police, it's the police." Even if they weren't doing anything wrong or nothing was happening, they would just freak out. And I don't really know why. They weren't, speeding or anything, but they'd be like, just freaked out. Well, it's probably because they grew up in communist Yugoslavia and you could get into trouble pretty easily for things. Anyway, that got into my bones. So now, well, up until recently, when I'd see police, I would freak out. I'd be like, "Oh, it's the police." I'd be like, "Oh my God, it's the police." But I've realized there's no need to do that, and I've changed my associations with police to be like, "Oh, they're good to have around, and they're gonna be there to help you." So I can use this little example to sort of talk about how to access a moment and to deconstruct it, and learn how to navigate whatever the event is, whatever the situation, even if it's a traditionally very negative event, how to turn that into a golden moment. And that's why I think this is so precious, because we have so many experiences throughout the day that aren't ideal, or they're not what we would choose to have happen. And so therefore we experience some small level of discomfort or negative emotion. And we can very easily learn to shift many of those into positive experiences. So there's basically, there are 3 key steps in doing this, and I'm gonna sort of lay this out, and then I'm gonna give you a few other sort of ideas and frameworks. But the idea is, the first step is focus, is to, whatever your mind is focusing on, you're going to feel that emotion, and you're going to feel that story, you're going to feel that narrative, and then your mind will always come up with a meaning. So that's why this book is so important, Man's Search for Meaning. Our brain is a meaning-making machine. So I won't go into all this kind of neuroscience around this, but essentially, even when our right brain is switched off, and scientists show the right brain a situation or an event or some kind of occurrence, it will send information over to the left, and the left brain will come up with a story as to why that thing happened, even without having any awareness of it. So our brain does this all the time. So when it comes to the focus and the meaning, whatever we focus on, the brain will come up with a meaning. It has to contextualize our reality. Otherwise, we get overwhelmed. So, and it does that by filtering through all our past experiences and knowledge and associations and things we've heard and seen and been raised to believe. So the meaning is derived, and then from that meaning, we take some sort of action. So if we think, I saw that person and the way they said that thing, they said this, I'm going to focus on how the tone of their voice, and I'm going to create a meaning where they were ridiculing me, and that means they don't respect me. And so my action is I'm going to now yell at them or I'm going to get back at them somehow. So that's one pathway through focus. And then when it comes to that full circle of experience, when I'm saying in the book, no event is all bad or all good. It's both. But our brain naturally goes over here and looks at the negative aspect. We have a negative bias, and we want to look for the negative bias so that it protects us. But we can consciously move our attention over to this positive narrative that is also present. So what's not good is available, but what is good is also available. And this is where Man's Search for Meaning is very powerful, where he says the last of the human freedoms is the freedom to choose one's attitude. And that's really sort of what he's talking about here, is choosing what is the meaning that I'm creating here. So whenever I'm experiencing quite a bit of stress, or I'm getting anxious about something, like when, Corona was kind of kicking in, I saw a lot of people around me freaking out. And so I actually did like a free live stream thing sort of on this topic. But what I was asking people to do was to shift their focus on, rather than most people were focusing on how and when am I going to die, and how and when are my parents going to die. A lot of people were very worried about that, and in the beginning, that's a fair concern, right? We didn't know much about what was going on, but I was asking people that were looking at this side of what was available, and I was turning people's attention to over here. So what else is available in this scenario? So how do you shift focus? We shift focus by asking new questions, because our brain can't help but answer questions. If we place a question in our mind, our brain can't help but answer it. And the process of thinking is literally the process of asking and answering questions on a subconscious level. So even as I'm saying that, your brain's saying, is that true? Do I believe that? Have I heard of that before? Do I have any experience of that? And then it answers that question. And we make about 15,000, we ask about 15,000 questions a day. And we have a default answer for many of those things. So what the golden moment idea is to start asking a new set of questions so we can get a new focus, develop a new meaning around certain events, and that leads us to taking new actions and behaviors and heading in a completely different direction. So some of those questions you may have heard before. And also, before I sort of share this, this can be very challenging to do in the beginning, because our natural behavior patterns want to say, no, they were a jerk. Like, trust me, I know them. They were being a jerk. And so asking these questions asks of us to take a moment between the event and the reaction to ask these questions. So some of these questions are, what's good about this situation? What am I learning about the world in this situation? What am I learning about myself? What am I learning about others? How could I benefit in this situation? What would my highest self think and feel in this situation? And what is this situation calling me to do? So that's starting to move more towards the behaviors, asking ourselves questions of new behaviors we want to experience. But questions are the way to interrupt these natural patterns that we have. So the whole idea in this example is to always be asking, is this focus empowering me? Is this meaning empowering me? And is this action going to empower me? Is it a rightful action? And the idea is to never believe a thought that does not empower you to move forward, to grow, to be better, to say something in return that's loving, compassionate, and kind. And always go with the thing that's going to empower you, rather than put you into a state of fear or reactivity. All right. So that's that part of it. So there's often a question around how to love things that are challenging, because we don't want to, because it's hard, it takes energy. And a lot of just being able to do this kind of stuff actually does come back to just purely having energy, like physical and mental energy to deal with these things and be able to do it. But as the example in Man's Search for Meaning, he didn't have copious amounts of energy. They were being fed one bowl of very watery soup a day and a little bit of bread. And he was there for almost 3 years. And so that's why I think this book is incredible, and I recommend you go grab a copy of it, because that's like the high altitude training version of creating golden moments, of being in a situation and looking beyond the immediate, obvious, objective suffering and terror and asking, what is just beyond that? What is the meaning of this suffering? So it's quite funny, actually. Just before I jumped on here, I thought, oh, maybe I'll read something from from this book. And I flipped to a random page, and it is perfect in answering this question. So I'm just going to read one paragraph and about the role of suffering, because no one wants suffering, but this is what Viktor Frankl says. An active life serves the purpose of giving man the opportunity to realize values in creative work, while a passive life of enjoyment affords him the opportunity to obtain fulfillment in experiencing beauty, art, or nature. But there is also purpose in that life which is almost barren of both creation and enjoyment, and which admits of but one possibility of high moral behavior, namely in man's attitude to his existence, an existence restricted by external forces. A creative life and a life of enjoyment are banned to him. But not only creativeness and enjoyment are meaningful. If there is a meaning in life at all, then there must be a meaning in suffering. Suffering is an ineradicable part of life, even as fate and death. Without suffering and death, human life cannot be complete. So he goes on to sort of talk about suffering. Actually, maybe I'll read this next line as well. So, the way in which a man accepts his fate and all the suffering it entails, the way in which he takes up his cross gives him ample opportunity, even under the most difficult circumstances, to add a deeper meaning to his life. It may remain brave, dignified, and unselfish. Or in the bitter fight for self-preservation, he may forget his human dignity and become no more than an animal. Here lies the chance for a man either to make use of or to forego the opportunities of attaining the moral values that a difficult situation may afford him. And this decides whether he is worthy of his suffering or not. So that's like a pretty dense sort of idea, and it's a bit out of context. But that last line is extremely powerful. This decides whether he's worthy of his sufferings or not. So one of the points that Viktor Frankl makes is that suffering, in a way, is an opportunity. It's almost a privilege. And he says it's not about asking of life what you can get from life. It's about asking life, what am I going to bring to life? What am I going to embody and engage fully in service of life? And if that entails the suffering element, then it ought to be embraced fully as a part of life, because life is incomplete without it. So it's the embrace of all aspects of life rather than just all the bits we like. So a full engagement with life also is a full engagement with suffering and acknowledging it and actually embracing what it has to offer, because it wouldn't be there if it didn't offer us something. So I know some people, may reject that idea or not like that idea, but that's the whole point. That's the key to golden moment, is to embrace all aspects of it. So, all right. So there's a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to share here, but I want to skip over to to Marcus Aurelius. So Marcus Aurelius was an emperor of Rome, and he is one of the founders of what became Stoicism. And so I just want to read a few sort of quotes and talk about Stoicism and its role in creating golden moments. So in AD 170, is that how you even say that? AD 170? Sounds funny. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Our actions may be impeded, but there can be no impending or intentions or dispositions, because we can accommodate and adapt. The mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle to our acting." So it's a little bit kind of confusing, but he's basically saying the mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle to our acting. I'll continue because it clarifies that. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. And this is a really important idea, which is the obstacle is the way. This is also a Buddhist idea. So this is a very ancient philosophy. This is not just a new idea that has come along in the last sort of 30 to 50 years in modern psychology. So this book was written just after World War II. And then there have been other movements of positive psychology, cognitive behavioral therapy, and there's another one I'm trying to think of. But this concept goes back a very long way. So the idea of Stoicism, why I'd like to sort of talk about it here, is because basically it turns obstacles upside down. It turns the idea of obstacles, completely reverses it. And the same is true for problems. That problems become the most precious experience that we can engage with, because, as I talk about in the book, nested within the problem is everything that you need to learn. There's so much wisdom. There's so much growth. There's so much advancement and evolution. There's so much opportunity in a problem that, in a way, we should be almost hungry for problems. We should be gluttonous towards problems, because within them is all of this personal growth and development and evolution. So it's a completely different way of looking at problems and even trauma and negative things that have happened to us in the past, that are happening to us now, that we think might happen to us in the future. It's a complete reframing of those things so that we can be excited about the value that is within those events and situations, because there always is. So yeah, with Stoicism, the idea is we don't control what happens to us, but we do control how we respond to what happens to us. So there's no such thing as a setback or a problem or an obstacle. There only exist opportunities, gifts, and valuable lessons for growth. Even when we experience something, it's not what we wanted, but it's what we needed. And that problems are the key to personal growth and fulfillment. Yes, the other form of psychology I was thinking of was humanistic psychology. So cognitive behavioral therapy, humanistic psychology, positive psychology, are now integrating more of this idea that when things happen, we can interpret them differently, reframe them, and tell a different story to really extract the gold. Okay, so So let's think about if there's a situation in your life right now that you might be tagging as bad or negative. What if it wasn't so bad? What if that thing was actually perfect for you and it was extremely valuable to you? What would you do if that was your attitude? How do you think you'd approach that problem or challenge? And how much better would you be? How much better would you be at approaching it, at resolving it, at coming to a resolution that's really good for you and maybe even good for the other person? Or, if it's not another person, just the world, whatever it might be. So it's a very valuable way of framing situations. So most of the time we don't do that. So we look to blame someone, or we beat ourselves up. We throw our hands up in the air and we give up, or we complain, or we avoid it. Instead of dealing with the thing that is right there, right in front of us, right now, that has the power to elicit our own personal power. It's the way that's why in Golden Moment, it's this moment is all we need, because it's the place where you can engage life perfectly. You can't do it in any other time. You can't do it in the past or in the future. You can reframe those things, but in the present moment is where you have the opportunity to actually connect and engage with these problems, these opportunities. So problems and pain are simply lessons forcing their way into our lives because we didn't pay attention early enough. And it's okay that we feel frustration, fear, anger, confusion, helplessness, depression in these cases, because they are a way we have been trained to respond to these events. But the idea is to create this buffer where we start to make a different choice about how we what we focus on, the meaning we bring to it, and the action we want to take. So here's an example. So Thomas Edison, his factory burned down, and he turned to his son and said, "Go and get your mother and all of her friends. They'll never see a fire like this again." This is an incredible golden moment alchemy situation. Because instead of getting extremely frustrated, crying, complaining, worrying about what it was going to mean, he could actually enjoy, this is crazy, he could actually enjoy the fire and make it an event for his family. And then worry about it tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to show up and we're going to clean this thing up and we're going to get it going again. So, in everything that happens to us, we have an opportunity to practice virtue, transcendence, patience, excellence, or embodying our higher selves. And so that's why the Zen proverb is the obstacle is the path. Okay, so rather than asking, how do we reduce adversity and obstacles in our life? We want to start asking, how do we change our focus to access the gold present in each moment and take advantage of the riches nested within? Excuse me. All right. So this is another Marcus Aurelius quote where he says, objective judgment, this is like a mantra to kind of bring this into practice. Objective judgment now at this very moment. Unselfish action now at this very moment. Willing acceptance now at this very moment of all external events. That's all you need. So that's how you turn the thing that is in the way into the way. So that's, even just that quote is very powerful. It's about changing perception, then engaging with a unselfish action, a higher action, and then engaging with that willing acceptance of the things that we cannot change, and embracing those things. So, those things like death or a hurricane, these are things that are outside of our control. And so a part of the Stoic approach is actually to embrace those things and actually find a love and a reverence for those things, because they are also included in life. And so to engage and create golden moments is really a sign of being in love with life, with all aspects of life, being devoted to life, rather than just devoted to the parts of life that make us feel good in the moment. That sort of lower animal aspect. So there we go. Maybe one last thing and then a song. So I wanted to share this last part because it continues to reinforce this thing that the golden moment, on the surface, it might sound like it's about creating just fun activities in life with yourself and with other people. But really, the deeper meaning of golden moment and the song is that this is like the alchemy of life, taking the muck of life and converting it into gold. Alchemizing negative situations into something that's extremely valuable. And that's, again, why I think this is the most valuable life skill to engage in. And like I've said, I don't pretend to be a master at it. I just know that when I engage with it and I am doing it well, then it's extremely enriching on a very, very deep level. Mikael, good afternoon. Good morning. How are you, Mikael? So, I'll finish up with this last little bit and then I'll play a song and then we'll get out of here. You're good? You're good? Excellent, excellent. All right, so this is the story of the Holy Grail. So King Arthur and his merry men, they were on a search for the Holy Grail. It was supposed to restore the world to peace and goodness. And so this is kind of the part of the story. King Arthur and his knights saw a vision of the Holy Grail. So they set off in search of it. They came to a dark wood and decided it would be shameful to enter together. So each entered the wood alone at the point that seemed darkest to them. Each entered the wood alone at the point which seemed darkest to him. Isn't that crazy? It's a very interesting, powerful line. So why wouldn't they enter the forest or the woods at a point that was really well lit and safe? Because that's not where the Holy Grail is. That's not where the gold is. And they entered alone as well. So the Grail and the search for the Grail is a metaphor for self-actualization. It's about engaging with becoming the best version of yourself. If you had the power to save the world, restore the wastelands, and to bring the world into order, this is the way to go about it, which is to look for the darkest place in your own life, in your own personality, and enter that place and make gold from that. So I think it's a very powerful metaphor. And like I talk about in another song, We've Got the Numbers, is I believe that is the way that we can create change, positive change in the world, is to do this work on our own, the self-actualization. And in that process, we grow and learn and develop and are able to share and help others on a much deeper level. And so that's That's the idea of golden moment. All wrapped up there. All right, so that was a quick 30-minute session. All right. So I'm gonna play golden moment for you now, and let me know. I don't know if you caught much of that, Mikael, but let me know any of your thoughts on what I've just been sharing, and if you did miss it, you'll be able to catch the replay. So now I'm going to play Golden Moment. All right, where's my plectrum? Sing along if you know the words, Mikael. Tomorrow is not here now. Yesterday's gone anyhow. You never step into the same river twice. And light blasts through only one frame at a time. And this light and this frame is called your beautiful life. So what fills your world right now? Right now. Now. What do you feel? What is the accompanying sound? Oh, the sound. You only exist now and here. Who you were yesterday disappeared. So know who you are, not what you'll be. Just be here as you are with me. 'Cause only in this moment can you be yourself perfectly. So now all you see is every single frame, every frame. Connect each flicker into a continuous flame. This moment is golden. It's the only thing we need. The past and the future can't save you. This moment can set you free. So make this moment good. Make it the best that you had. Give it all you are. Give it all that you have. You don't have to wait any longer. You can be free right now. Just give into it, give into it, give into it. I can show you how. Now each moment is any day. I'll tell you how each moment is eternally deep. Eternally deep. How we can set ourselves free, free, There we go. Had to take care of Liam. How is Liam? How is Liam going, Mikael? I'll make sure I watch the replay and let you know. Awesome. I have to admit, I was surprised you mentioned the Arthurian cycle. Yeah, right. Surprised in a good way, of course. Yeah. All right. Excellent. So that was a pretty epic sort of topic and session today. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you got something from it. It's a very counterintuitive idea, which is, the problem is the way, and it can be an uncomfortable mode to step into. But I've personally found whenever I do it, it just almost fixes everything, because it turns everything from a problem to an opportunity. And yes. I've heard that the Chinese, I think it's the Chinese or Japanese symbol for crisis translates both into danger and opportunity. And this is kind of a way of thinking about events that come up that we may not like on the surface. That, yes, there is the negative aspect to it, but there's always the other half of the story, which is there is an opportunity in there. So, I hope you found that useful. Liam was okay, but wanted to climb onto my arms before going into the car this morning. I had to get out of the house quickly. Okay. Excellent. So, so the next session I'm going to do is going to be this coming Sunday, 1 p.m. my time in Melbourne, I believe. So that's probably a crazy time for you, Mikael. And that'll be a little bit of a launch party of the Golden Moment book. I'll be playing some music. I'll be sharing more from the book. And it'll be sort of, the last part of this series and coming towards the end of the pre-order launch of the book. So if you haven't got your book yet, please feel free to, I think you can scroll down and you'll be able to click a button, pre-order it there. And also, the session that I sort of went through today was a little bit of a sampler or a hint at what the Golden Moment Book Club will be like, which is more diving really deeply into one topic, and then finding ways of taking that topic and actually connecting it to your life. So it's quite practical, a practical way of integrating, all the music, all the themes and ideas that I sing about, how to actually integrate them into your life to hopefully have a more awesome time at life. So also feel free to check that out. Apart from that, I think that's all. So either see you on Sunday, 21st November, 1 p.m. Melbourne time, or see you out there in the world somewhere. Peace out. Big love. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here, Mikael. And look forward to catching you all real soon. Remember, stay golden. I don't think I like that as a catchphrase. Stay golden. It's a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit LA or something. But anyway, take care of yourself. Be awesome. Thanks, Mikael. Stay golden, my friend. Stay golden. And I'll talk to you soon. Big love. Bye.